Worst in the East, the season finale, and it is bittersweet. Happy to see something I've loved for so long being shared with people who'd never have the time to watch the anime, but at the same time, sad to see it end. One Piece is a weekly event, even to this day, so we've never really had to wait. Season 2 is gonna be at least a year off. Anyways, let's dive in, or set sail, whichever you prefer. The season finale picks up directly from where episode 7 left off. We finally face off against Arlong. After Luffy's iconic moment in season 7's closing scene, we just go from strength to strength. We dive straight in, building some more weight behind Nami's suffering, but also the aftermath of Arlong's betrayal. We are into the final fights of the season.
Yeah, you're gonna fit in just fine.
And I am so glad they kept Zoro and Sanji's fighting dynamic. Their constant competing and digs at each other just reminds me of Legolas and Gimli. It's so epic to watch.
That still only counts as one!
We also finally see Usopp find his strengths. You start to see how he holds himself amongst the giants around him. Nami provides most of the emotional aspect. All the weight comes from her, while the action comes from the rest. It helps balance the episode and shows how they earn her respect. This episode is a good wrap up, but the battle with Arlong seemed a little quick. Yeah, I'm not expecting them to match the anime's 20 episode plus battles, but it felt like it could have been a bit more. But at the same time, it did scratch the itch. Garp's mini little arc also comes to a conclusion. You start seeing where it leads to, what he decides to do next. Not only in this episode, but also for future seasons. You get an idea of where this is going. Kobe and Helmeppo also start to grow a spine. They start to show why they are different and why Garp is so intrigued by them. They show that they are true Marines. They are not afraid to avoid something or stand up when they believe something is right or if they believe something is wrong. What is done really well in this chapter is the small things. This isn't an episode of grand and big things. It's an episode of simple things, small things. It's the small details. It's the small tie-ups. Going back to characters that you've learned to love over the season. It's going back to see the reaction to all the events of this episode. It's great because you feel satisfied that everything has been tied up. But then it starts to open new threads and you're like, even though you don't know the source material, you know there's more to go. And the journey towards the Grand Line is just going to be 10 times bigger, 10 times wilder. And you can tell just by Nami's final statements about the Grand Line, it's something else. The imagination behind the design and everything is insane. The show has been something special. For us fans, it's been very respectful to the source material, and for the newcomers, it has given a no-filler version of One Piece. One Piece is daunting to start just because of the sheer number of episodes, so we have to give it to Netflix for being able to pull it off. They kept the soul of the source while making it more palatable for the general audiences and keeping the fans intrigued. An insane balancing act which somehow was pulled off. I will rate the episode and then rate the whole season. This episode is rated as... There isn't a whole lot of story in this one, as it's mainly focused on tying up loose ends and opening new threads for season 2. It's ticked all the main boxes, covered all the main areas while putting a smile on your face. This whole season is rated as... The season overall kept the key moments from source material, but it also left out some important aspects. It met most of the challenges head on and got the message across. The slow start of the season, some of the fights being shortened a little too much, also some of the lore being manipulated lost some points overall because it messed with some of the events of the future and the weight behind some of those moments. Question: should you check out the anime or manga? Yes, 100%. The source material is better overall as it is with most sources. There's a lot more detail and 10 times more stories, which they simply couldn't cover in a live action. There are many more crew members to meet. All come with their own stories, purposes in the crew and dynamic to the journey. There are intricate stories on scales you couldn't even imagine, even if you tried. I have watched a lot of content in a lot of different areas and a lot of different mediums. This show is probably the most detailed, intricate story I have ever read or seen. There are wars and action on levels that I don't think you could ever do justice in a live action. The One Piece world is filled with insane abilities, unique characters, deep stories, beautifully designed worlds, and you are always entertained. I would highly recommend looking up an online guide which will highlight all the filler episodes. This will help keep the pace and save you a whole lot of time on your journey of catching up. When you do catch up, you will look back at this and think, I thought season 1 was good. Anyways, happy sailing. Until next time.